And I'd like to welcome Heidi Lee to talk to us. Now, Heidi is the Interim Head of Research and Industry Investment at Beyond Zero Emissions. Now, Beyond Zero Emissions, I suspect everyone here is well aware of, but they are Australia's leading think tank and solutions tank and knowledge passing on tank in the clean energy and clean solutions space. So, welcome Heidi. Thank you.
So while that's coming up, again I'd like to acknowledge that we're meeting today on Wurundjeri land and pay my respects to elders past, present and those emerging. It's a pretty live topic at the moment in my life around legacy building and continuing the legacy of people that have come towards us, and I think the conversations that we're going to continue here tonight are really a part of how we do this intergenerational change in really positive ways so that we're all building on what's come before us instead of rethinking and restarting these things again. So I've started in this role at BZE about 6 months ago. I know some of you know Michael Lord, who was the previous head of research at BZE. One of Michael's most fantastic achievements, of course, was writing 2 major industry projects for us. One was around rethinking cement and demonstrating how we can get to almost zero emissions out of rethinking how we make cement and how we use it in our built environments. And the other was electrifying industry. So I'm going to give you a whirlwind tour through the highlights of electrifying industry tonight and talk about the application of electric technology in our factories and how that is part of securing Australia's future, and manufacturing really underpins so much of our economy and our society and our incredible quality of life that we at BZE would like to see more broadly shared and secure for our future. We're a little bit grainy here, but if you squint your eyes, you can see Alan Pearce in the thing, which I think once I point out, everyone can have a little squeal about. So our business model is actually, as an independent think tank, we're funded by philanthropy to solve problems that we believe are the most pressing problems facing us. That's climate change from our point of view, and we do that by recruiting the most unbelievable volunteer teams you'll ever meet and setting them to task. So we've been operating since before 2010. Our first report was launched in 2010 where we demonstrated that you could transition all of Australia's stationary energy to zero emissions within 10 years and make a buck while you're doing it. We followed on with all of the other sectors, buildings, we looked at transport, we looked at electric vehicles, we looked at high-speed rail, we wrote a discussion paper about land use, we've looked at the whole spectrum of things, but most recently at industry. And one of the reasons that I was excited to step into a role at BZE while I was not working was really around the opportunity to learn a little bit more for me about how technology that I'm pretty familiar with as an architect, like heat pumps, and look at that at an industrial scale and industrial applications. Like Nigel said, there is an inevitable shift towards a zero carbon economy. It's a global shift. There are science-based targets initiative that we really like to look to as where the leaders in global manufacturing are going. They're going to zero. Some of them are going fast enough, some of them we think could go a little faster, but these directions, they're heading in the right direction, and this needs to be celebrated. This is a major opportunity for Australia. We will be a renewable energy superpower in a global zero emissions economy. We have barely scratched the surface of how much renewable energy we can generate in this country and what we can do with that. And yes, we do need to upgrade our transmission lines, so those electrical engineers, we're not ignoring that, but the potential is here. Not just that it's feasible, it is physically feasible, but it is commercially feasible as well, and that's a really exciting opportunity when it comes to high energy use activities in the economy like manufacturing. So this is a slide out of our most recent report, the 10 gigawatt vision for the Northern Territory. So you can see we've got the NT wholesale price of electricity plotted in there. But most importantly, you just look at the downward trajectory. This is the diagram that really, I could give to Nigel, this is the chart that shows what you're talking about. There is a rapid slide in the cost of renewables, and that enhances the feasibility of high energy use projects, but also, particularly for manufacturers in Australia, we're really excited about those low energy costs for high energy users, single point high energy users like factories, because when you're running 100% zero emissions grid, you're running it off renewables with firming. What you need with that variable supply is variable demand, things that you can turn off and on as your grid is producing more energy, producing less energy. That is a really great opportunity for large manufacturing businesses, and I'll come to that in a moment about how we're capitalising on that in the manufacturing space. Basically, the big energy use in industry is process heat. I don't need to tell you that. When BZE, when we write our plans, we're about transitions. We're about short transitions to zero emissions. So looking at the manufacturing sector, we really need to be talking about renewable industrial heat. The way that you do that, of course, is simply to fuel switch, get off gas, look at on-site renewables, getting your balancing happening as best you can on site. Chances are with really big energy users, you're going to be looking at off-site renewables to balance that out. But demand management as well, both for your on-site processes, but also the way that you interact with the grid is going to be an important part of the commerciality of manufacturing businesses in the future. Electrification, which is what we're going to talk about, electrification is really the foundation of all of these things. It gets you off gas, it gets you off those polluting fossil fuels, and it's the most flexible way that you can deliver targeted heat, the right temperature, you can control the heat, and you don't produce more than what you need. The way that we're now looking to implement some of our research is to overcome some of the barriers that we find within our current social, economic, policy system to transitioning all of our manufacturing businesses from polluting fossil fuels to electrification and renewable energy. And we're calling this the zero carbon factory. And I've been corrected many times, yes, there is carbon in factories, zero carbon emissions factories. So that's going to be demonstrating how Australian manufacturers, Australian factories can make the transition to electric appliances, electrical equipment, to be able to capture and use really efficiently your process heat, and to then meet global demand for low carbon products. So I'm now leading that initiative. That's the industry investment lead part of my job title. And what it means is I'm out there on the ground meeting with manufacturers from Newcastle to Ballarat to Collie in Perth. And I'm working with them through some of what we would conceive of as unbankable options in this space, because we're not quite ready yet. There's options here to make the transition to all electric and to renewables, but it doesn't pay off in that really short-term return on investment space that a lot of manufacturers are working in right now. So what we do is we're working with large institutional investors and smaller ones as well. We're looking at ARENA and federal government money as well, and tying these things together to help demonstrate. So we're the knowledge share and that the tanks that you were describing, yeah, Ron, the tanks. So we're helping to build that bridge between knowing what we should be doing in this sector, knowing what creates a strong, viable future for this sector, looking at where we are today and building that knowledge base so that we can demonstrate that with an injection of capital, that with money spent at the right time, right now upfront in capital expenditure, that we're actually going to not just transition one steel factory, food factory, brick is exciting, we're going to microwave some bricks. But not just that one factory, but actually take those learnings and share them more broadly with the sector, because that's what's going to start that domino effect of implementing change somewhere, working with an independent think tank, we take that out through our networks with universities, with industry groups, and with other manufacturers, and we make that happen for them too. So this isn't about developing a secure future for just one business. This is actually about building strength in our regional communities primarily and our manufacturing hubs around Australia to make sure that we have the full range of thriving into the future. And that's where I was going to land today. Make sure we have time for discussion later on. There are opportunities to get in touch and there's opportunities to get involved as well. We are really excited to hear about new technologies coming online, and of course personally I'm really excited to see Noel's work coming to fruition. That's just wonderful. We know that you can get there even with commercially available technologies. The innovations that happen in the innovation cluster, they're only going to make it faster. So congratulations, and I look forward to staying in touch.